Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much tonight and on our recording later on for jumping on to our Educate to Elevate series tonight. We are discussing college recruiting, and we have a absolute pleasure of welcoming and having with us Holly Ismail, who's the Director of Recruiting at NCSA, Next College Student Athlete. She is going to be sharing her experience tonight on college recruiting and her entirety of her life, both personally and professionally, expertise within this zone. So allowing Holly to pull up her screen here. She played Division I basketball and is coach for almost 20 years, helping many student athletes in their recruiting processes, and is also the mom of 3 college athletes. She does have roots in Minnesota, and as we know, as TCO and Training House, we are super invested in empowering your athletic abilities and taking you to the next level within our Educate to Elevate series. So she actually gave birth to her first her firstborn in Minneapolis. So she's very excited to come back and get connected to our community. And how cool to be together tonight when activities are canceled, practices canceled, we're at home, safe, out of the snow, to still invest in our opportunities. Because what are we going to do with our athletic opportunities if we don't know how to get connected? So I'm super excited to have Holly on here, and I will let you take it, Holly.
Thank you. Appreciate the intro and really appreciate everybody being here tonight. Honestly, this is one of the most exciting things that I do with my job here at NCSA, just to be connected to families and student athletes in this recruiting process. We're about to talk about one of the most important things in your life as far as, choosing a college and going through this recruiting process and having opportunities. If those of you guys that are parents here tonight, like, you understand how important that was for you. And now you get to start the process, if you haven't already, from the recruiting standpoint, which plays obviously a huge role in that. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of my background. I know Kayla talked about me playing basketball at Syracuse. I was a volleyball player as well. That was actually my first love. And I had to choose a sport. So some of you guys may be multi-sport athletes here tonight as well. And ultimately found my home at Syracuse. So I am an orange. I bleed orange. And I've been coaching now for, almost 20 years now. Hard to believe. But I've coached at the club level. I've coached at the high school level for many years, 1 year of college once I graduated Syracuse. And I've had a ton of success from the coaching side of things as well. I've been director of recruiting here at NCSA for 5 years, and learned a lot about the process going through it with my own kids. I'll share that with you in just a minute as well, because I'm a mom of 3 kiddos that have played and are still currently playing sports in college. So we've got some polls, you guys, as we're going through tonight. So please engage in the polls. It'll be good for me. Kayla, yeah, if you want to put the first one, cool. So if you guys can just answer this, just wondering, are you a parent? Are you an athlete? Are you a coach? Just so I kind of know who is here tonight. Cool deal. Yeah, there's just like 17 of you. So everybody should be answering. Lots of parents. That's good. That's good. You guys are number one support of your kids as they're going to be going through this process. All right, cool. So I'm going to share. Oh, yep. So you guys can see we've got, 64% parents here, athletes, and coaches as well. So 2 coaches here. Awesome. Welcome. And I'm going to share my information with you later to get in contact with me too as a coach. There's a lot that we can do to help you, to help your kids, your players, I should say, in the recruiting process as well. So here are my kiddos. We've got Kadir, Kadri, and Kalea. My oldest played basketball at Princeton. My middle son played football at Mercyhurst Division II school up in Pennsylvania. And my youngest played at Villanova football. Obviously, he went in as a quarterback and actually left as a receiver. Everybody's process, what I'd like to share with student athletes and parents is that, the process is just different for everyone. Now, if you start the process the right way, you go through it, you start it early enough, you should be in a really, really, really good place. My daughter had offers as a freshman in high school. She was very highly recruited. Basketball is different than a lot of other sports as far as when coaches can actually, give offers. So her process was really long. I mean, there were college coaches that were starting to watch her in eighth grade, maybe seventh. And it took us really the next 3 years to figure out what school, what program she fell in love with, and it ended up being Princeton. So she graduated 3 years ago. My son in the middle, he didn't start till later. He kind of realized later in high school that I still want to play this game. NCSA played a huge role in helping us with his process because he had no exposure at the time. And once we got him connected to a coach here at NCSA, and got his information out there to college programs, things started happening for him fast and furious. I don't recommend Fast and Furious, but things ended well, for him. And then my son, who's still currently playing at Samford, he ended up graduating Villanova this past year. He had redshirted his first year, and then COVID gave him an extra year, so he took that as well, had 2 years left, wanted to go in that crazy transfer portal, and ended up landing at Samford, which is down in Birmingham, Alabama. So he's got 1 year left. And his process, guys, was kind of like in the middle. He had to decide between basketball and football. That was around his 10th grade year. And then, we had to kind of hit things hard for football recruiting, for him. But student athletes and even parents, try not to compare. I know like social media and all that makes things a little bit hard in that aspect, but just know that your process is going to be, different than your friends that are going through it. You're looking for specific things in a school that are going to be different, from your friend. You might play a different level in college than your friends do. And parents, same thing of parents of athletes as well. So I always encourage everybody, there's a home for everybody as long as you're doing your part. Do you want to put up that next poll, Kayla? I think it was a grad year. Yeah, perfect. So parents, student athletes, obviously coaches, you're already graduated. But if you guys can just gives me a good idea of how old you guys are here tonight. All right, cool. So we kind of have evenly here. Class of 24, 25, 26, 27. We even have 428 grad classes here. Are you sharing? Okay, you're sharing the poll. Awesome. Cool. So you guys can obviously see the results here. So kind of across the board, different grad years here. So hopefully 2024s, you guys have some things going on in the process. All right. So just a little bit about NCSA, you guys. We are actually now a part of IMG Academy, depending on what sport you guys play. And that was a question I needed to ask and I didn't, but you guys can put that in the chat. And along the way, like as we talk about different things here tonight, you guys, please feel free, put your questions in the chat. I kind of have my eye on it and I would love to answer, as we're going through here. And I'll absolutely give time at the end as well. Depending on what sport you are, soccer for your son, all right, cool. So you've probably heard of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, but we are actually now part of them. Their parent company bought NCSA last year, Endeavor. They're an athletic academic education and development high school. So they've got, huge property down there, and they extend, beyond that as well to help student athletes across the country and really across the world. But NCSA, we were founded, you guys, in 2000. So we've been around for a long time. Another soccer player here. Cool. And our headquarters are in Chicago. And so I know there's probably a lot of snow going on there right now as well. But we really are king of recruiting. There's other platforms out there. But, we've helped over 250,000 student athletes find the right fit and college programs for their sport. And we do work really with every sport. We just added cheer pretty recently, gymnastics, even esports. I know some of you guys might not think it's a sport, but it is. I think those people who play esports sweat too. So I'd like to sort of start talking about this process really here as far as roadblocks in recruiting. So Obviously, I've been helping a lot of student athletes and families through this process. Also being here with NCSA, you guys, for 5 years, like I've talked to hundreds upon hundreds of families, and there's just these roadblocks that I hear over and over again. And if you can avoid these, you'll be in a pretty good place. So one of the things that I hear a lot, I even heard it this past weekend. I was in Omaha at the Final Four for NCAA Division I volleyball, and I was meeting with coaches there. And a number of high school coaches felt like their athletes felt like, oh, coaches are just going to find me. And I think this is kind of like an old school thing. I think I probably heard way back in high school when I played, if you're good enough, coaches are going to find you. There are, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of student athletes that, want to play in college. And, a lot of you guys, we got a couple soccer kids here tonight. You're playing on club teams, right? And you're going out and you're competing at these showcases and these tournaments that have hundreds upon hundreds of teams. Same thing with every other sport is kind of the same deal. There's no way college coaches will know who you are if you're not marketing yourself and putting yourself out there. Sure, if you're on a list of the top 100 kids in the country, coaches have those lists, right? They're going to know who you are in that regards. But even there's a process to that too. And so, I share that to say, guys, is you have to make sure you market yourself, and you have to make sure college coaches know who you are. The other roadblock that I hear a lot is that, oh, recruiting doesn't start until junior or senior year. And I put that June 15th date up there, guys, because a lot of sports at the Division I and Division II level, college coaches can't reach out to you and even talk to you about recruiting until that date, June 15th, after your sophomore year. And I do hear a lot of parents, kind of say like, oh, it doesn't start until later. But when you think about, if a college coach is calling you on June 15th after your sophomore year, that means they know who you are. If they don't know who you are, they're not calling you. So I like to say recruiting starts to end at that time, because those coaches are only calling you if they've watched you play a lot, compete a lot, where they feel comfortable enough to say, yeah, we are actively going to be recruiting this student athlete. So the earlier you can start, the better. I'll share some numbers on that in a little bit, you guys. The other thing is, my coach isn't doing enough for me. My coach didn't do, what we thought they were going to do. And, at the end of the day, I always tell families, parents, student athletes, like, this is your deal. This is your journey. This is your life. You need to really grab hold of this process and take responsibility for it. Your coaches will be there on different levels. And so have a conversation, if you guys haven't already, and sort of see where your coach is in this process. How much do they even know about it? What can they do to help you? And make sure you have that conversation. But at the end of the day, first and foremost, as a family, you are responsible for your own recruiting process. So just playing club is not going to do it for you. And simply going to tournaments and thinking that you're going to get looks that way is just not the reality, you guys. If those coaches don't know who you are as you're going to these tournaments and showcases, they're not coming to your sideline to watch you, period. So there's a lot of work as far as a buildup before you start going to those. I hear that a lot. You go to these places and you see all these college coaches walking around. You're like, oh, cool, cool. Who's going to check me out? Who's going to find me? And they're actually going to watch kids they already know. So we'll talk about, all of that as we move on. And then this is a huge one, you guys. I don't know what level's realistic for me. We've got Division I, II, III. I almost was going to say Division IV. NAIA, junior college. Some kids want to start in junior college, but even junior college has levels to it. And so you really need to know what level is realistic for you, so that you are not spinning your wheels in an area that doesn't make sense for you, and you'll end up nowhere. Because I've even coached kids who kind of started in the wrong place for one reason or another. And then they're going into their senior year and they have no offers, nothing going on. And then we, really are able to hone in on the right level. But at that point, it's almost too late. And so you do need to know what level is realistic. I'll talk more about that as we move forward as well. All right, I think we have our next poll question. Awesome, cool. Thanks, Kayla. All right, are you being recruited by college programs? Like, are you being actively recruited? So there's yes, there's no, and there's not sure. Because sometimes you might, get some letters and some parents are like, I don't know what this means. Does this mean they're actually interested? Okay, so 11, 12 are not. So nobody has said yes so far. And one said not sure. Yep, totally understand that. All right, cool. So you could probably share this. Kayla, awesome. So you guys can see we've got 13 out of 14, here that have said no, and then one not sure. So nobody here, yes, or nobody here is being actively recruited currently. And being that we have grad years of 24, 25, these are grad years, guys, where at this point you really should be. And so we're going to talk about how you can really speed up your process and make sure that you start connecting to programs that make sense. All right, so let's dive into grades, academics. So this is obviously super, super important, you guys. Number one, I mean, you can be, qualified for any school across the country athletically, but if you don't have your academics right, it's not going to matter. Okay. And there's a lot of things that college coaches look at. I mean, obviously, ability matters. Character is huge. That's going to be like a separator for you in the process. And grades are really that first thing that a coach looks at. They can see your film, they can see you in person. First question they want to know, what do your academics look like? Because every school, even though the NCAA has their own minimums, you guys, every school and every program has their minimums as well. So just because you might be NCAA qualified doesn't mean you're qualified for X amount of schools that are out there. So obviously, the higher your GPA is, the more opportunities and the more options you're going to have. It's as simple as that. Also, I'm sure parents, student athletes, scholarships are usually pretty important to families, looking for some financial aid and scholarships. And most scholarship money comes from academics. There's not too many sports that give full rides, right? A full scholarship. We'll talk more about that in a couple slides from here as well. So do as well as you can, put as much time and effort into the classroom as you do on the field and the court and the pool, whatever sport it is that you compete in. So this is what it looks like for Division I, you guys. So if you're not certain and you haven't seen this before, the minimum, like I said, it's minimum, guys. You're not super recruitable at a 2.3, but that is the minimum GPA per NCAA at the Division I level. And that means with your 16 core courses that you need to have completed and passed by the time you graduate. So core courses are going to be, I'll show you on the next page actually what the core courses are, but that's different than like your cumulative GPA. So your cumulative GPA may look higher than your core course GPA. So this is what matters for the NCAA. So 2.3 is the minimum, you guys, for Division I. And 2.2 is the minimum for Division II. Now, when you're looking at Division III schools, NAIA schools, and if any of you guys haven't heard of NAIA before, it stands for National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. Those schools kind of have their own admission standards. And so that's a situation where if that's the level you're qualified to compete at in college, that's a conversation to have with the coaches. There's lots of information on our platform where you can see that information as well. But typically you're going to find D3 schools are pretty high academic. So you're going to find some great, great, great academic schools at the D3 level. Also, your GPA is combined with your SAT. It's sort of like the sliding scale. Now, there are a number of schools that are not requiring the SAT or ACT anymore. Again, that's all a part of the process when you talk to coaches and programs, if it's actually required. What I also share with families is that if it's not, right, if you can use it or not use it, if you do really well on it, use it, because there's lots of scholarships attached to really strong SAT and ACT scores as well. Kayla, do your kids up there usually take the ACTs? I'm feeling like the Midwest is a lot of times the ACT.
Oh yes, ACT is the winner up here.
Okay. All right. Got you. Yeah. East Coast, it's SAT. But guys, you can take both, right? It doesn't matter that most of the time kids are taking the ACT. Like the SAT might be stronger for you. My daughter took the SAT. She did pretty good the first time, took the ACT, bombed it, took the SAT again and really studied for it and did really, really well. I mean, obviously she was looking at, Ivy League schools, considering that. And, there's obviously super high standards there. So she was able to hit her mark. So I'm not going to read through all this, you guys, but this is basically what your core courses look like. And I don't even remember if I mentioned it on the last slide, but you do have to complete 10 of those by the time you start your senior year. So 10 have to be completed and passed before you start your senior year. Now with this, you guys, no matter what, grad year you are, obviously, if you're in high school, I know we have some 7th and 8th graders here tonight. So once you're in high school or prior to, as you're sort of putting your class schedule together, I think it's really vitally important for you to sit with your counselors at school to let them know that you want to compete in college, at your sport, so that you can really map things out and make sure you have everything, mapped out to be able to have everything completed. I mean, for the most part, you will, but I think, as with anything, be prepared and just make sure. Because I've seen kids get caught not having everything completed, and then they're not qualified. So a little bit more about SATs and ACTs. For the most part, you guys, schools will take a super score. So if they do, and I know there's a few, that don't, but I would say most of them do take a super score. So that means like you can take the test, the ACT, SAT, up to 3 times, and you can take the higher scores from each test and sort of put it together as your score. So the SAT is like English and math. If you do better on your English the first time, but better on your math the third time, you could put those 2 scores together. So this is definitely a reason to take it multiple times. And I think that, again, with scholarships being attached to these, I think it's really important to do it well. Set some goals for yourself, and with anything else in life, right? If you're consistent with something, you could do really well. And this is an interesting thing that I had learned recently, that a 1200 on the SAT, which maybe you guys don't totally know what that is since you're more ACT based, but it's only 67% correct, which, probably most of you would not be too happy bringing home a test of 67%. And 1200, to most people seems pretty solid. So anyway, I like to share that to say, like, you can probably do really well if you put time and effort into studying for them. And yeah, we kind of already talked about that. Oh, here's another interesting fact too, you guys. The SAT and possibly the ACT as well is graded on a curve. So the day that you take it, along with the rest of the country, if everybody did sort of pretty well and higher than the average, then your score will actually be lower. So just another reason, like, if you feel like, man, I thought I did better, maybe across the board, it was a pretty strong testing day. And so just plan to take it again. As fun as those tests are, plan to take it again. Any questions, you guys? I'm going to take a quick pause and see if you guys have any questions about anything that we've talked about so far. And just from an academic standpoint too, as you're thinking about possible questions, from the academic side of things, like if you're talking about like AP classes or honors classes, those actually will give you like a higher point for NCAA. So if you are not sure whether to take some higher level classes, if you want to look at higher level colleges, universities, they want to see that you're taking them. Even if you don't do as well in an AP class as you would like in an honors class, it'll actually give you an extra point. So it sort of evens things out. And college coaches want to see those higher level classes. So not sure if anybody thought about that as a possible question. All right, nothing so far. Okay, NCAA Eligibility Center. So this is really important to register for. Now, if you're Division III or undecided, if you don't know what level is going to be realistic for you, you actually don't even have to register here, but you can, and it's free. Now, if you register as an undecided because you just don't know yet, and you find out, oh, I actually am qualified to play Division II, then you can just upgrade. And I think it's actually $100 now. It used to be $90. I just found out this week, and I think they, with everything else, raised the price to $100. But this is really important for your academics, you guys, for the NCAA to really, dive into what your academics look like and make sure that you are eligible. It also checks your amateur status, which, a little bit of that is changing with NIL deals and all of that going on. And it's different state to state. So don't ask me too much on that because things are changing all of the time as far as, even what states are allowing high school players to make money as athletes as well. But basically you can just search NCAA Eligibility Center. And if you are in 11th or 12th grade, I don't think we have any 12th graders here today, you definitely need to register, unless again, you're D3 or undecided. You need to be registered. It needs to be completed by the time you go on any official visits. So super, super important. All right, guys. So we have nobody here that has said that they are actively being recruited. So you got to start. You have to start. The sooner you start, the better. Now, if you're an athlete that's in 7th or 8th grade and you're not sure yet what you want to do, figure out what you want to do. It's not the end of the world if you don't start today. But if you're a high level, like my daughter was a high level basketball player, those college coaches can talk to you. Even in middle school, you can call the college coach and they can talk to you. You want to start now to make sure those coaches know who you are. If you've made a decision with your sport, you want to play at the next level, everybody here tonight, get started now, because the longer a college coach can get to know you, just watching you compete, but also getting to know you as a person. You might be in a sport where that college coach can't offer you until that June 15th date or even September 1st date of your junior year. But they can talk to you and coach you at a camp that they've invited you to come to, and really kind of start to get to know you, and you can start to get to know them. So relationships are being built, even though college coaches aren't talking recruiting yet, but you'll know where there's interest. They can call your coaches to ask about you. So you really want to make sure that you are building relationships, guys. It's super important. I had a good friend of mine I was actually coaching basketball with a couple years ago, just kind of helping out his team. And his daughter was Division I level qualified for basketball. And she had been here in the States playing for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember exactly. And she hadn't been proactively reaching out to college coaches, but she was playing AAU basketball on a team that college coaches know here in Maryland, and very reputable program. She didn't start going to camps until that summer before her senior year. And there were a number of schools that she went to that she was interested in, that it was actually the first time the coaches had even seen her play. They liked her. They knew that she could fit in with the system and what they do, but they had already given out their offers. And they also mentioned, like, you could play here, but we don't know you well enough. And so that alone, that college coach would have never offered her. And so that's just one story where, and this can happen at all division levels, you guys. Get your information out there, start building relationships. Coaches need time before they feel comfortable wanting you in their family. If you think about it, right? Like, you kind of want to be in a place where it's a family atmosphere, and college coaches need to be, really, really comfortable and confident giving you an offer. Being recruited doesn't mean you're going to get an offer either. I think we might have the next poll. Kayla, am I right to say that?
Oh yes, here we go.
All right, good deal, good deal. All right, so curious, I'm talking about, like, how many schools should you have on your list? Because obviously I'm talking about being proactive, getting your information out there, marketing yourself. So we got to get a list of schools together. So yeah, 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 30 plus. It looks like most are saying 11 to 20. Cool. Thank you guys for being engaged. It's good to know that you're not sleeping over there. So interesting, because I do find that most student athletes and families that I talk to when I ask this question really fall between that 0 to 20 range. And they're kind of shocked when I say 30 plus. 30 plus is going to be a much better number for you because of the way recruiting is. When you think about a college coach and who they're recruiting initially, hundreds of kids for your position, for your grad year, you guys, I've seen it. with my daughter's recruiting, I saw a board on a college coach, like they had a room when we were heading to the coach's office, and it had hundreds of kids listed on it. And then it had, like you can see where they erased a kid and maybe moved them. And they had a point system next to each kid. They're kind of like putting everybody in a category of how high are we recruiting this kid for this grad year and kind of what level are they for us, because coaches are going to recruit a lot of kids that they don't ever even offer. So when you think about that, and you think about, like, if you only have 10 schools on your list that you reach out to, you guys, and maybe 5 start the recruiting process with you, and maybe you get 1 offer out of that 5, like, you don't know what that's going to look like. And 1 is not really great for you, right? It's doesn't give you options. You don't want to feel like, oh, this is the only place I can go. I'm kind of stuck going here, if you will. The more that you put on your list, the better. Some of you guys might be saying, well, I kind of want to stay close to home and there's only so many schools around us. Start your process even wider, like spread your wings and just cast your net a little bit wider than you think, because what will also move some of the coaches that maybe are more, or programs that are a little bit more interested, that are closer to you, if they see interest from other places. It's funny how it is, you guys, they tend to move a little bit quicker. So the more that you can, kind of cast that net of yours, the better. So 30 plus, I tell kids usually 40 to 100 is kind of ideal. And you might be thinking, holy cow, I can't think of that many schools. NCSA, our platform, guys, you'll be able to find them all. So you'll be surprised at how many schools are out there that you didn't even know about. Okay. And this next slide really shows you, like, also when recruiting starts, right? So this is about that contact, direct or indirect, and every sport's a little bit different. And that's why I say direct or indirect, because an indirect contact would be you sending an email out to college coaches. It's got your film, it's got your transcripts, it's got your GPA, it's got your test scores if you've taken them. All of those important things. It's basically a resume that you want to get to college coaches. So that would be like an indirect contact. Direct would, of course, be, like in my daughter's situation, even my son that played football at Villanova, where the college coach is asking you to call them. You can have that direct contact. They can offer you, you're talking about recruiting. So this is on the women's side. This gives you an idea of, how much is happening each year in high school. Basketball on the top for girls, because, those coaches can talk to kids early. Softball, more indirect. Those coaches can't really talk to you until a little bit later and give offers, but gives you a good idea, you guys, of some sports that have a lot going on that freshman and sophomore year. Then there's a few that happen a little bit later. Like when you look at track and field and you look at swimming, I mean, those are really time-based sports. So coaches wait a little bit longer to see, like, hey, what is that improvement going to look like as you go through high school? Even with that being said, for you guys to have a good idea of what you're looking for, I definitely recommend, as much as you can, visit schools, before all of this, starts for you. I think better to get a good feel of what you like and what you don't like. And on the men's side, you guys can see that, not as much that freshman year, just simply because, you guys are growing like weeds through high school, and, girls are stopping their growth a little bit earlier. And so coaches wait a little bit more to see, like, what happens with you physically, because that's obviously a big part of recruiting in a lot of sports, as far as your height and your size. But good for you guys to kind of visually see this. Bottom line here is, get the process started. Let's create a list of schools that make sense. Let's start getting your information out to them. So scholarships is something that, obviously everybody's interested in. So I just wanted to show you guys the difference between full scholarships and then sports that give partial scholarships. So head count scholarships, you guys, mean that these programs will give full scholarships. Like, that's all they can give. They have a certain number of scholarships they can offer. Not every school is fully funded, so understand that too. But at the FBS level for football, they have a certain amount of full scholarships they can give. Same thing with Division I men's basketball, Division I women's basketball, Division I women's tennis, Division I women's gymnastics, and Division I women's volleyball. So those are the sports that give full scholarships. That mean absolutely everything is paid for, unless you live on the West Coast and you want to go to school on the East Coast, you got to, pay for your way to get there and get home and all that stuff. But everything at the school is paid for. Equivalency sports are all other Division I sports that aren't listed on the left side, all Division II sport programs, all NAIA schools, and all junior colleges. So those programs will have a certain number of scholarship limits. So they have a certain number they can use, but they can split them up however they want to. So this is another reason too, you guys, why being a high academic student athlete is really important, because when they can see all the scholarship opportunities you have from your academics, they can just stack the athletic money on top of it. They maybe don't have to use as much on you, and they can disperse it a little bit more amongst their program that, really helps them to grow their program even that much more. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And then finding the right fit, right? I mean, this is everything. We've got to find the schools that make sense for you academically, right? And some of you guys may know what you want to study. Some of you younger guys out there, girls, don't know yet what you want to study, and that's fine. At some point you might have some areas of interest, but academically, even, what level of academics are you? What schools, are realistic for you? And then what schools are athletically realistic for you? So we need to find that mesh. And then we talked a little bit about geographically, like, where do you want to go to school? Do you want to stay in Minnesota in the freezing cold and the snow? Or do you want to go, a little bit more south where you can warm your bones up a little bit? But whatever is important to you, we've got to find the schools in that area. And then again, like I said earlier, cast your net a little bit wider than that. Socially, guys, socially is big. I mean, you all know how important that is for you right now in this time of your life. It is for us as adults as well. When you look at schools and, and your teams that you're going to go play for, like, what does that feel like? What kind of kids does that coach recruit? So when you're looking at programs and looking at schools and taking visits, it's really important to meet the team, get to know the players, and really kind of see what type of atmosphere that is. So gaining exposure, you guys, this is obviously kind of like the beginning parts of recruiting, and knowing how to do this the right way is super important. So we've already talked about what level athletically is realistic for me. You got to know that. Then you need to go to camps, combine, showcases, right? Camps that make sense. What level camps? Combines, obviously, for football. Your club teams are going to showcases. And I mentioned earlier that prior to going to these, you got to make sure those coaches know who you are. They're not coming to watch you play. Same thing with camps, you guys. I mean, I've had plenty of friends that coach at a lot of different levels. I've had plenty of football coaches say to me, like, yeah, we run these camps and stuff, but if we don't know the athletes that are coming prior to, like, we have our eyes on the guys that we know, then you're going to get lost in the shuffle. So don't be that person that gets lost in the shuffle. Stats for some sports, of course, are, somewhat important, but at the end of the day, you guys, film is really important for most sports. There are some that it doesn't matter as much, like track and field and swimming, but if you have it, coaches will definitely look at it with those sports as well. But film is going to tell that coach probably a little bit more than stats. If you're a basketball player and you're averaging, 20 points a game, but you're not playing really high level competition, but then maybe you're on somebody else might be averaging, 14 points a game and, playing really high level competition, that might even mean more to a coach, than the 20-point score. So film is going to tell that coach a lot. They're looking at the defense that, you're playing against as well. And we know, of course, the academic piece is number one for college coaches. Social media is one of these things, guys, that it is very important in recruiting now. Some of you guys in middle school may not have social media accounts, and truly, as a parent, I say that's okay. You don't need to have that yet. But college coaches definitely use Twitter. They do follow student athletes on Instagram as well. Now, most of your exposure isn't going to like happen on social media. How that works is once you reach out to a college program via email, get them all that information that they need, and they like what they see, then they'll go into Twitter and they'll find you. And then they'll follow you there. And then when they can contact you and talk to you, they will even message you through there as well. So a few things with social media. I don't think I had a slide to talk about that. But just a couple basic things, guys, with your social media accounts. Just make sure that it is just your name. So not like a nickname that you've been given, just real basic, your name. So it's easy for the college coach to find you. And you guys would be surprised at how many kids across the country that may have your same name that, a coach might pull up. And so also put your high school name in there as well, so they can kind of differentiate that. Grad year, that helps. And obviously, if you have a high GPA, put that there as well. Also make sure that they're public, because if you have it on a private setting, the coach might wonder why that is. And of course, keep your social media totally clean. Make sure you're not liking anything silly that a college coach is not going to want to like and see, because they may just cross you off that list right away if they see you commenting on things, liking things, that are not, going to be what they're looking for, right? As far as your character and who they're looking to invite into their family. So social media is a big part of recruiting. Even high level, like Division I level football programs, guys, they keep track of what athletes are doing on their end too, what they're clicking on, who they're looking at, what programs they're more engaged with, because they're trying to figure out who they're most interested in. It's an amazing whole field right now that coaches are using in the recruiting process. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just took a quick pause because I saw something in the question and answer. You didn't see hockey on the charts. Any specific info on that sport? Great question. So hockey is one of those sports that is really tough, right? I know you guys have a lot of hockey up there, and juniors is a big deal. And so with high school athletes then going to juniors, and then obviously that process just kind of lasting longer to then go on and play in college, it's going to be, I want to say like earlier but later, because juniors is a big deal, and we do have in our platform those programs as well. So we can kind of talk more about hockey because it is a little bit of a different animal in recruiting. So if you want to talk offline a little bit more about it, I certainly would love to do that. But I think with hockey, because it's so competitive and there's not a ton of programs out there, and you're looking at really mainly D1, D3, the earlier you can get your information out there, definitely the better, definitely the better. I feel like we have maybe our next slide. Cool. There we go. All right. So here's the next question for you guys. What do you think is the average percentage of high school athletes that end up playing in college? 2, 5, 7, or 10? I mean, this is like across the board, all division levels, all sports. Love to see these answers coming through. We'll share in a quick sec. All right, cool. So we're sharing the results. So most of you guys think 5%, and you guys are close. 7% is actually the average. So across the board, Division I, II, III, it's about 7%. Now, when you break that up, it's 1.7% here, 2.1% there, 3% here, different, depending on the division level. The reason why I'd like to actually share that percentage, this is in no way to say like, it's just so hard, there's no way you can make it. Because here's my message to you guys. If you're qualified to play at the collegiate level, there is a home for you, but it is very competitive. And so you can't think that, well, I'm not Division I qualified, so I'll just go play D2 or D3. It's so competitive at those levels as well that you have to attack the process the same way as you do Division I. I think there's this misconception that Division I is so hard. Well, sure, there's a small percentage that go and play D1. There's also a small percentage that go and play D2 and D3 as well. So really across the board, you'd be amazed at how similar It is. So that's why I like to share that, not to say like, it's going to be impossible for you to play in college. You can definitely do it. If you're qualified and you want to do it and you're committed to this process, you can definitely play at the next level. All right, so I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about NCSA and just different ways that we can help you in the process. So many things that you'll be going through, but of course, that first piece is that exposure piece, right? So you want to make sure that that resume that I mentioned with the film and the academics and all of that is really solid. If film is not right, and that coach looks at the first 20 seconds and they don't like what they see or they don't see what they need to see, they're moving on. They do not have time to look at your film for 3 minutes and hope they're going to find what they need in the last, 30 seconds of that film. So that's really important that your film is done correctly. That's one thing that we help families with, making sure that that's put together the right way. We also have coaches here that evaluate athletes. It's based on film, it's based on measurables, it's based on your age, a lot of different factors, but these are all former college coaches, you guys, and we have them in every single sport. And so we're able to make sure that you know what's realistic, which definitely should give you more confidence as you move forward and start this process. Academically, obviously we can take a look at that and make sure that we're finding the right fits for you. Academically and athletically as well. And we have a match percentage, which might be on the next slide, which I can share with you guys too, this recruit match technology that actually shows you on a scale, like where you fit in athletically, where you fit in academically. It's super, super cool. And we can connect you with college programs. There's plenty of coaches here, you guys, that pick up the phone and call programs to say, hey, you need to take a look at this kid. If you're having trouble connecting with them, we can help you prepare for your visits. We can help you prepare for those phone calls, because every part of this process is an interview process. So we want to be ready. And I know these days, kids have a little bit of a harder time communicating, talking to adults, maybe not as comfortable because we're behind our phones so much, but we can help you get more comfortable with that as well. So this just kind of shows you just a little snapshot of some of the stuff that we have on our accounts here. And you guys will all have an NCSA account. And if you haven't used yours already, you're going to have one. You'll see that. You should see that tomorrow. Make sure you log in and start filling out your information. A couple different ways that NCSA works, but I think we have our next poll too. You can put that up. Awesome. So how many D3 and NAIA schools do you think there are out there, you guys? And I know some of you guys maybe had not even heard of NAIA schools before, but I did share what they are. National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. So I asked this question because I think, we all know the major Division I level programs, but we kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit with D2s and D3s and NAIAs. All right, so not bad. Not bad. So you guys can see, some of you guys, a bunch of you guys said 512, 688, a couple at 250 and 455. So 688 is actually the answer. So not too bad, not too bad of a guess for you guys. I like to share that because there's just so many programs out there. You would be amazed. And so one of the things that we have in our platform for you in your accounts is this this search map. So you guys can actually go into any state, division level, academics, there's all of these different factors that you can filter out in there, and you'll be able to pull up every single school that fits your search. We work with every school across the country. So it's really awesome, you guys. Definitely utilize that. That's a free tool on your account. So is your profile, which is that resume, which is searchable by college coaches. They use our system, guys, every single day. We've got over like 55,000 coaches that use us on a regular basis. So just having your information in here is going to give you some exposure. Don't count on that being everything. Find your schools, find what you want. But there's just a number of different ways that NCSA works for you. On the right side of the screen, you guys can see that college coaches also post when they're looking for certain positions for certain grad years. And so you can also search that way in roster openings. You can see it's kind of highlighted on the left side there. For the most part, those roster openings, I recommend for those athletes that are a little bit later in the process and they're not sure, like, oh, who knows if they're even still looking for my position. It's just the schools that decided to post in here. So don't think that these are the only schools. There certainly are more out there. but just another way that you guys can search in our system. So utilize your accounts. They have some just awesome tools that you can use. This is just a little snapshot on the left side of what a profile, part of the profile looks like. You can put your transcripts in here. The two most important things actually in a profile here are video, for obvious reasons, unless you're a swimmer or track, and transcripts. Now, 7th and 8th graders here today, you don't have to have transcripts. It's fine. If you have a GPA middle school, you totally can put it in there. But coaches know that you've got some time before you actually have a high school transcript. So that's okay to not have that in there. And then on the right side, it just kind of gives you, some more information as far as what we offer. So we've got webinars that run every night. These are all run by former college coaches. I mean, we've got some really, really valuable stuff for you guys. So hopefully you guys learned some things, tonight that maybe you didn't know yet. I think first and foremost, we got to get things started, right? Hopefully you guys have made that commitment to the process that you do want to play in college. So this just kind of gives you that roadmap of what this looks like. There's so many things, guys. Like, it starts with exposure, but there's going to be a lot of things that you go through that you may not know how to handle. You may not know how to ask that coach about scholarships. You may not know what is realistic and what the timeline of that conversation is. That could feel a little uncomfortable. We can help you with that to understand how to walk through that as well. You're going to go to unofficial visits and you're going to go on official visits. And, some schools will have you apply before they actually can offer you, and some will offer you and then you apply and kind of have that on, on file for this school. So there's, like I said, the journey's going to be different for everyone. We have one more quick poll to put up here, just about visits. I just mentioned, official and unofficial visits. So what is an official visit? You guys are taking time to read it. There we go. We got one answer. All right, cool deal. Looks like that's probably what we got. Awesome. So we're sharing the results. So when you visit a school and that school can pay for you and a parent, that's an official visit. And most sports, you can have 5 official visits. But also know this, you guys, just because you are going on an official visit doesn't necessarily mean that that school can afford to pay. So just know, even with the scholarships and this kind of thing, if they're fully funded and they can pay for it, great. Like, some schools might say, I can just pay for the athlete, but the parent will have to pay their own way. And plenty of times they can pay for both. So just know that that's what an official visit is. And for the most part, you'll be able to take 5, but not every kid does. And a lot of times, guys, you'll go on a lot of unofficial visits, and you may, a lot of kids, I should say, will make their decision before they even go on an official visit that's paid for, because you can go on a lot of unofficial. So a lot of times the official visit is the school that you've already committed to, and you meet all of the other kids that have committed and that are going to come in the same year that you are. So oftentimes that's what it's going to look like. And then at the end of the whole deal, you commit. And then there's a big celebration, and it's like, whew, so glad it's over. So do this the right way, you guys, and you'll be in a great place, and you'll be able to, have that celebration at the end. All right. So real quick, as far as just NCSA and sort of, our platform and your profile and account that you're going to have. And again, some of you guys may already use yours. Some of you guys may even have a membership already. But what you want to do is schedule a call with NCSA. It can be with me. If you guys want to do that call with me, I'm happy to do it with you. I've got a nice discount for you. You can just kind of scan that QR code. That's my Calendly link. schedule a call with me there. It may only show the next 2 weeks, but I really am not supposed to be scheduling calls until January 1st, which I'm not even working January 1st. So you guys can kind of put in for any date just to kind of put yourselves in there. I'll reach out and we'll find a date because I think it only shows you the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll find a date in January together. So if you guys want to have this one-on-one, basically it's an assessment where we're able to talk about your goals. We're able to talk about your process, where you're at, where we need to go from here. I'll show you your account. I'll kind of show you all the tools and resources. We have membership opportunities for you as well, so we can help with a lot of these things. It'll take with me about an hour, you guys, because I just like to find out a lot about you. So we have a good time. So you guys can just fill that out. Otherwise, you can schedule with, another specialist and we'll reach out to you guys. There is another question that I see up here in the chat. What about recruiting to other countries like Canada? So we do have some Canadian universities, and this might be, oh no, maybe it's soccer. I was going to say a lot of times, like with hockey, sometimes, kids look at Canadian schools. So we do work with some Canadian schools, not all of them. For the most part, we're based here in the States, but you will see some Canadian schools as well in here. And obviously that process is going to be their process because it's not NCAA. So not exactly sure what you're asking there, but hopefully that answers that question in a little bit for you. One other thing actually I wanted to share with you guys, just my information. So if some question comes up for you that you haven't thought about while we've been here tonight, just reach out to me. That's my email. Anybody that's going to have that one-on-one phone call with me, that is my cell number. You can text me on there, as we try to find a date to work together as well. And you certainly can follow me on Twitter. I don't do a whole lot on Twitter, to be honest with you, but you can follow me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Holly. Gosh, this has expanded even my frame of reference just as to all of the tools and tips that when you get ahead of that can really empower your game and take you to the next level. So we're really thankful to have you in our Twin Cities Orthopedics and Training House network here to empower our athletes. We can leave a few minutes left for questions if anyone has specifics for Holly here. I know I have a few questions to jump in on myself, but gosh, even in my career, I'd worked at University of Minnesota and recruiting for a number of years as well. And when athletes come and have this information in hand, seeing the coach's angle from this, huge impact. So I love it. I wish my brothers had this information. I wish I had this information growing up.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so there was another question here and question and answer, and this might have been put in a while ago. Sorry about that. How do I get my son in soccer camps and showcases? So you can always search a school. Like if there's certain schools that you're interested in, and again, that I would definitely recommend make sure it's a realistic level. You can just pull up the school, just Google the school, go to the website, go to sports, and they normally will post their camps there. Individual showcases, that's kind of like a different thing. There's a lot of different people, organizations that run those. And so that is something that our coaches here can help you with specific to soccer. Camps wise, yeah, just make sure it's a realistic place and make sure you reach out to those coaches beforehand. Now, obviously, if you get your information out now and these coaches, if they see your son and they really like him, they'll send camp invites like they want him there. So that could happen as well. So there's another question. Thoughts on sports specialization? Almost couldn't say that. Do coaches prefer specialization or multi-sport athletes? I love this question. Multi-sport athletes. Don't just specialize in one sport because that's, I think, kind of an old thing. It's kind of gone to the wayside. And I think for a little while, people were just doing the one sport. Coaches love multi-sport athletes. You're using different parts of your body. You're getting strength in different parts of your body. You might have to choose a sport in the fall and then a sport in the spring. Kind of depends on obviously what you play and if it's a back-to-back sport, what you want to do. But, you're going to have to pick the club. Like if your sport is a club sport of the sport you want to play in college, but definitely play multiple sports in high school. I highly recommend it. Coaches love it. My son that went to Villanova, he played Very high level basketball, obviously football, and he ran track and field. Once he committed to Villanova, the whole coaching staff came to one of his basketball games. He actually played with Emmanuel Quickly, who's playing for the Knicks now. That was his high school point guard. But they, like, his whole football staff came to watch him play basketball, and they were blown away at his movement and how he played basketball. They had never watched him play before, and they loved what they saw. So it gave them kind of like another angle as far as his athleticism was concerned. So definitely go for multi-sports.
So we had another question that came in leading into our episode here, and you spoke to the power of social media and how important it is now. But any case examples as to how personal social media channels influence prospects when being recruited?
I'm sorry, can you say that last part of the question? Because I was
Yeah.
trying to filter through these questions. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Speaking to like any cases as to the gravity of the impact of social media channels and how they influence prospects when being recruited.
Influence prospects or like influence their
Your
process from the
your
college
prospect when being recruited.
when being recruited? I guess I'm not really totally understanding the question. How is
Yeah.
it gonna influence the athlete in getting recruited?
Hmm.
Like how they use the platform
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing? Okay. Like I mentioned earlier to you guys, like a college coach is going to follow you on social media, period. So they're looking through that. Part of that is initially just kind of looking at your character and the things that you post and what are you about. And that can influence tremendously. I mean, I've seen plenty of coaches that have really stopped recruiting a kid for something that they've posted on their social media. So you have to be super careful. I mean, it's the same thing as like, you go to a party and everybody's got a phone and they're, you know, taking pictures or video and then they're posting stuff and then a coach finds something like that. I mean, that's all social media influence. And so everything that you do is like social media. So you have to be so super careful. That's a great question. Sorry, I didn't quite understand what side you were talking about, but
Social
it,
media goes lots of directions right now.
yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, it could cost you. It can absolutely cost you a scholarship. I mean, a coach who has offered you, if they see something, that you posted or something that's happened, they'll rescind that scholarship. They'll take it away. And it's happened. I mean, I think a quarterback football recruit it happened to recently. One of the top recruits in the country, don't remember exactly what it was, but something happened, and I know he had scholarship offers taken away. It might have even been from a school that he had already committed to. I don't know if Kayla, if you know that story, but that just happened recently. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big, big deal.
Awesome. Another question came in. Can you give an idea of costs and or levels for support individually?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 levels of support that we offer here at NCSA, and it can range from just kind of having access to all the tools and resources, which I'll be able to show you guys exactly what they are, what's free, what's part of a membership, all the way up to you can have your own personal recruiting coach here. So somebody that's coached your sport collegiately, and they're literally holding your hand through the process. You have unlimited access to talk to them, email them. You have SAT prep, ACT prep. I keep saying SAT because I'm on the East Coast. ACT prep, help with scholarships outside your sport. We do video for you. We do that evaluation piece. You get your match percentage. So there's a ton. I can show you guys all of that. So Emma, if you want to have that call with me, I can break it all down for you. The cost range. So it can be from like $900 up to, I think baseball at the highest level is $3,600. That is without a discount, you guys. I will take care of all of you guys at a discount, which will drop it below that 3,000 mark. And these are not yearly. This is a one-time deal. If you are in ninth grade, if you're in eighth grade and you enroll in a membership and you pay full price, you never pay us again. We'll even help in a transfer if you need it in college. So we got your back through the whole thing. I'll give you guys a discount. It's not going to be that much. If anybody's qualified for free or reduced lunch at school, it's a half price membership. So we try to help absolutely everybody that we can.
Oh, which
Oh, okay. Thank you,
sure.
Coach Lucky. I see that. Yeah, he did lose a full ride. Yeah, that quarterback. Yep, said not a good word on TikTok. Yep, TikTok. Yeah, TikTok is huge now
Mhm.
too. So things are expanding, all the time. Yeah, definitely going to lose that scholarship. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for your time, Holly, just representing NCSA and the partnership here with Training House and Twin Cities Orthopedics too. We truly appreciate it. And for all of you listening now and on the recording later, we will have Holly's contact information up as well. And we are very excited to continue our Educate to Elevate series with you next month. The 18th, we'll be talking about sports psychology and empowering your mental conditioning to really take your game to the next level too. So we are excited to see you back next month as well.
That is super exciting. I'm going to join that one.
Yes, please do.
I
You are
need
welcome.
that for my team right now. Definitely. I need that one. So I'll be joining. Thank
Awesome.
you, everybody, for coming tonight. Thanks for having me, you guys. Truly a joy. Glad to be
Thank
here.
you.